Hey, welcome everybody to my chess stream here on Friday, February 10th, 2017. International Master William Paschall. We are streaming from Budapest, Hungary. No, I'm not Hungarian. I'm just a resident here. I'm an American International Master living in Europe since 2004. We are playing 5 to 8 minute games here on the stream with viewers, featuring my commentary, banter, chat. You can chat with us here in the Twitch stream. My handle on Twitch is Slaggy. On lichess, my name is Sparklehorse. We're going to get started in just a minute. Just want to welcome Blue Crow to the chat there. Looks like we should be up and running. Let's see. Make sure the stream is up and running before we start to play. Yesterday we had a little bit of problem. I had to restart the stream at one point. Come to think of it, wasn't too bad. But I have to check my uploads. I upload all the videos to YouTube, and I was thinking yesterday we had a situation where I had to restart the stream at one point, and now that I'm thinking about it, I just uploaded one video to YouTube. Maybe I should have uploaded two because it was probably broken into two. Constant Change, Mule Skinner, I Am Not Pleased, Bapi, Bucaneri, all these players have played with me before. I know you guys. So let's get started. Cormet or Cormet. Cormet is just a new account, so I can't play you, man. I really hope to play with people who have established accounts. He left anyway. I am not a Fed. I hope so. He's got just enough games. I really asked everybody to have 50 games or so. Honestly, we're going to get started here with Constant Change. I was playing in a tournament yesterday, and a couple of tournaments here on lichess, blitz tournaments. And, you know, one guy was like winning this blitz tournament, this hourly blitz tournament. This is a new opening from Constant Change. So the guy was winning the hourly blitz tournament, and I was like 99% sure it was a computer when he beat me. But like the shocking thing was, yeah, maybe you did play this once, Constant Change. The shocking thing was he was 62-0 after the game with me, and I reported him as being a computer. It was obviously an engine. Every single game it played was like perfect. But how is it he went like 62 games without someone catching that already? The other thing that I wanted to suggest here on lichess is that these tournaments typically have a requirement that players play like 15 rated games in one time control in order to be eligible to play. You know, that's kind of like what I'm saying here on the stream. I'd like you guys to be able to play 50 games before you're eligible to play on the stream, because I have, you know, various like trollers and stuff like that. So I want to know that you're like, you know, you've invested a little bit into your account. You're not just trolling me with a new account every day. And that's why I'm asking everyone to play 50 games to be eligible to play. But having said that, what I wanted to say was, I think that the lichess tournament should be the same. They have a requirement like 15 games. I mean, 15 games is nothing. Maybe the bigger tournaments like the Super Blitz Elite or whatever, and the monthly ones have more requirement. I'm not sure. But I think that like all tournaments should require players to have at least 50 games played. So that's my 2 cents on that. Not that it would make that big a difference, but it would help a little bit, you know. But I like the guy who was 62-0 every single game. He's not even trying to hide the fact that he's using an engine. It's like he doesn't care. And he called himself As I Lay Dying. That's at first I was thinking it's Hemingway, but it's not. It's Faulkner, right? Do you guys know American literature at all? As I Lay Dying was a novel by Faulkner, I think. I don't think I ever read that, but for some reason when I was playing the guy I was thinking it was a Hemingway title, but it's not. It's Faulkner, I'm pretty sure. Does anyone know literature? Gladys Troll was stalking me on lichess. Seems like it's hard for you to get rating points. Well, honestly, tournaments are not the place to get rating points. I mean, if you watch any of those chess streamers, like let's say Chess Network or King Crusher or somebody like that who plays constantly, these guys like go down into the 2300s as well. I mean, they're pretty good blitz players, and the tournaments are always filled with like new accounts who are underrated. Sometimes you get computer cheaters who don't get caught. So if you want to gain rating points on lichess, you know, your best bet is to play a match with one of your buddies and have them throw all their games or something. But no, honestly, that happens, and that's, you can't really count the ratings here that highly because you can play whoever you want. But no, seriously, tournaments really, you know, if you want to gain a higher rating on lichess, it's better to just like find, you know, to hunt around for certain opponents, basically honest opponents who are legitimate and they are like the rating they are, and just kind of someone who you're good against stylistically. I think like Justice Bot probably is good at like seeking out opponents he can like, you know, take down a lot of points from. So I was thinking like stalking your prey professionally. I mean, I used to do that years ago on ICC to, you know, to get my rating higher. You would look for certain opponents and then play like 20 games in a row with someone you have a really good stylistic matchup with, and like take all the rating points. Larry Christensen used to do that. He would play massive long sessions with like the same player and then like beat them down to the point where you would actually like take like 100 rating points. He would brag about it to me. Sometimes he'd be like, "Hey Bill, I you know, took 100 rating points off this guy," and he was, you know, so that's what it is. You get to the point where you're just like stalking individual players and taking down their rating points. All right. But tournaments are pretty tough. You're going to play computers, you're going to play people who are 1700, whose friends playing on their account. Yeah, it's not easy to gain rating points. And there's not that many high-rated players like randomly looking for games. If you go to the Seek, whatever you call it, you know, the graph of players looking for games, find a game or whatever, it's like not that many players. If you're over 2100, there's not that many games. Yeah, these guys fluctuate a lot. I've lost 200 rating points, but I'm gonna get it back. But I ran into a nasty computer. But the second computer I played yesterday, I will admit the guy's not always using a computer, but he played. This first guy, the Faulkner title guy, was definitely a computer. The second guy I lost to, who won a blitz tournament, he wasn't using a computer in all of his games, but he played a sequence against me, which was like 100%. It was like an 11-move stockfish sequence in a very, very tactical position. I mean, there are some people who maybe just in important situations would use an engine. They're not using it for every game. I guess the guy wanted to win the tournament or something, but there's no way it was. He's not going to get caught as being a computer because he didn't do it like every single game. But this game against me, I'm pretty suspicious of him. He played like an 11-move sequence where every single move was Stockfish's first choice in a very, very tactical position. Thankfully, he only finished second in the tournament where he did that against me. Okay, back to the game. Constant Changes, playing pretty cool chess here. He's played this maybe once against me before. And unfortunately, my king's in the center. Now, we can bail on this king in the center thing and go castle king side. It does seem a pity, though, to do that. So let's try to come up with a secondary plan, huh? I don't want to give up the H-file play that I have here. I had a game with constant change. I think I lost in this line where the game got really tactical. The so-called beefeater. No, this isn't the beefeater variation. This is the Clarendon Court. I think played by, I don't know who's played it. I saw Elvis play it once. I've seen Elvis play some weird stuff. Seems like I've said that again recently. So if I was rated 15 years ago, I would still have the same rating today. Well, it depends. As far as American literature, but are you confirming that Faulkner wrote As I Lay Dying, right? Did we get an answer on that? You really need an American. I mean, most Europeans don't know anything about American literature. I understand. Um, I'm not saying I'm a fan of Hemingway. I read some Hemingway. I'm not a big fan, but you know, he wasn't Shakespeare or something. Um, okay, King F1. But I just thought I thought it was like a disgrace that like someone who's cheating with the computer is like, maybe I should play Rook A3 here. How's my rook placement in that situation? Well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should. Kind of a tough call. Alright, we're on our way to G2 to consolidate king position, but I'm questioning whether I should play Rook A3 or not here. It's good to have a literature discussion on the stream. It makes us seem so civilized, as opposed to the normal chess stream. Correct. So we got a correct one. Okay. I was right about something. I never really read Faulkner. I maybe read one Faulkner, but at least like something sticks in my memory. I had at least one. I had some English courses in college and at least one American literature course. Okay. But back to chess. Anyway, Rook A3. I just, you know, it's just shocking to me that someone educated enough to I don't know, you know, you'd think like educated people wouldn't cheat as much as, I don't know why. It's sort of ignorant of me to say that. I guess, I don't know, someone who would go to the trouble of naming their chess account after a famous literary title would be like a little more circumspect. I don't know why I thought that. Okay, wow. Mr. Constant Change getting real interesting here. Wow. Darn, dude. This reminds me of the other game he played against me. This is very unusual, though. He's actually in time pressure. This has never happened before. He's never been, like, behind me on the clock. He must have stayed... I don't know, he must be tired or something. It's usually reversed. He's 5 minutes and I'm 2 minutes at about this point. So that's strange. A4 is under surveillance. B2 is under surveillance. F4 square under surveillance. I thought you'd see it your way. Yeah, this was just a finesse by me. Objectively. It might have some benefit, though. Nowhere along the 4th rank to go, but we can go to like H2. And hopefully this was beneficial. Can double along the H file more easily now with the rook on H2. His super tough position. I'm not sure about my rook there. What's that move about? What is he doing? Queen C4. Alright, maybe I'm on the wrong track here, but I need to play King G2. Actually trading queens with Queen D3 is viable. A viable alternative. Wow, he's letting me play Rook H4 again. Or perhaps we should just go Queen H1. Jeez. He's just leaving his... Wow, leaving his pawn unprotected there. That's insane, dude. My king looks pretty safe here. I mean, it's taking on H7. F4 right away. That is wild, dude. I mean, I have to consider G4, keeping the lines closed. I don't like it, though. I can play Rook H4. Rook takes H7. Rook takes H7, Bishop F5 seems to be the idea. When I just... He's going to have crazy exchange sacrifices and stuff like that. It looks dangerous to take this pawn on H7. That's crazy, man. Queen C4 and then hanging the H7. Like 99.9% of people would have played Rook F7. But he finds a more aggressive move. Now he plays Rook F7. Okay, now the million-dollar question. The million-dollar question is, why can't I play E3 here? Everything's protected, right? It's important to keep everything protected. All right, that's a good sign, but I'm not going to get totally overconfident here. I think we should centralize the queen again. And now an ending would probably be good. Get his queen off of C4, trade queens. Of course, we can play for more. Queen D1. I think this is a good move, man. His queen is killing me. Forcing a queen trade here leaves me with very, very good winning chances. Now my king is safe. Did I miss F5? Maybe F5 was actually stronger. Could have kicked him out with F5 and then defended the pawn on F5. Maybe that was better. Because okay, he's dropping the A pawn. And he's having a hard time coordinating. I think he's falling apart here. All right. But previously, maybe I should have just played F5 there. It totally eluded me. It's a very, very difficult move to see. Instead of Bishop F1. Jeez, this kicking him out. Though there's no guarantee of queen trades. And I'll have to follow up with G4 or something. Okay. Kind of lucky that time. Constant change not in top form. All right, Mule Skinner. Mule Skinner, it seems already like years ago that victory you got. But for the amount of tough games you played against me, your score is very meager. So we did lose to Mule Skinner. Let's give him another chance at that. I'd like to play another revenge match. No, wait. Can we mix it up against Mule Skinner? I know how he likes open positions. We'll play D4. The Rachmaninoff system, knight F3. Rachmanov is a really good young Russian GM. He's like a little Karpov. A little Karpov. Well, they're both little. But a Karpov Jr., I would call him. He beats very strong players, like playing with like one move, one square, one square, one square. Like Karpov style. Every piece goes just one square. And it's awesome to watch Rachmanov play. He's very, very Karpovian. Grind down strong players by just like moving their pieces one square at a time. It's incredible stuff. Okay, so D4. We got 6 challenges, guys. I am not pleased. Bapi Bucanere. Led looks like a new opponent. As long as you've got an established game rating of 50 games, every day Miotz is here, but he never gets to play because he's usually like the last challenger or challenging me to some weird time control. Chef Master challenged me to 8-3 Chess 960. That's cool. Blue Crow took a break from the Chess 960. Yesterday you beat me in Chess 960, Blue Crow. Maybe that's what you should go with in the future. Okay, so we get Mule Skinner out of his closed, structure type of position that he loves so much. A little bit of openness to the game. That's why against Mule Skinner I like to play with black Scandinavian to breathe some life into the position. So it's kind of like a reverse. It's in English. I was thinking you were going to play knight e7, knight c6. I thought that would make the most sense. As it stands, you did trade pieces, which in general is good when you have less space, but you have brought my queen to a dominating position from where it's... well, I assure you I'm going to try to avoid retreating my queen back to d1 in one move. Guys, happy Friday. Well, Kerouac is this beat generation, with like, I was thinking more like old school classics. But anyway, I just don't imagine how a cheater can like appreciate literature. I think like someone who appreciates like any kind of literature would be like, I don't know, like a really honorable kind of guy. But as I lay dying was he had played 62 consecutive games here with perfect play. I don't know how somebody didn't like catch him in the process already. Like after 30 games going perfect, you'd think like, actually lichess should have like a built-in red light that flashes on and off, like when a new account wins 30 games in a row with no draws. Probably we should have an automatic. Although recently I sent a message to Thibault about a simul idea to allow late entries in simuls. He hasn't gotten back to me, or didn't answer my message, so I better try in the forums. I imagine the coders on lichess are pretty busy constantly with tons and tons of suggestions, and hard to get their attention. But there's a lot of features that could be improved. But you could catch a lot of cheaters automatically by just like reviewing people who won their first 30 games or something like that. Alright guys, Mule Skinner, what's up, man? You guys are slow today. You must go out on Thursday nights or something. Oh, the one thing is though that does help me, and I think this is actually very useful. Satis Troll had said he was following me on lichess last night when I was losing some rating points in these blitz tournaments. But the other thing is that I'm really, really rusty in sudden death. Since I don't play a lot of 3-0 and 5-0 lately, which was my old favorite time control, I've become really time reliant on these increments, and my quick reactions in like 3-5-0, they're not as good as they were, and they can be improved back. I can probably get back to where I used to be, but at the moment I'm a little bit slow and not that coordinated in these really fast time controls. So I am losing games, especially in 3-0. I'm actually getting flagged by people. That's something I need a little more practice. Remembering how to play 3-0, 5-0 on a regular basis. But I think if I get back to form, I'm pretty formidable, especially in 5-minute. I should be like 2600 if I get back to my normal form. D6, and you've got the backward pawn here. So we could try to attack that pawn directly with like bishop f4. But I think it's equally relevant to just keep the guy like under surveillance and develop my bishop to a better square here on the long diagonal. Also bishop a3, like in the hedgehog, could be an idea. So, you know, bishop f4 is possible, but I'm not sure this direct attack is necessarily better than just developing harmoniously for white. This is English opening, of course. Yeah, he gave up his center on d4. Okay, now there's bishop h3, and that's always a tricky situation. All right, we'll let you trade the white square bishops off if you so choose. Debatable if I should let him exchange. We still have an advantage though, but you could consider like rook e1, bishop h3. I was looking for tactics here with knight e4. You can play knight e4. But I don't see anything special. You can defend with either knight e8 or... I do have a trick though. I almost have knight c5 in some lines, like knight e4. Well, actually he has d5 though. Takes. That's not really good. Alright, let's try it. Only live once. It looks a little bit too straightforward to work. Yeah, I think this is not good enough for me. White's only a tiny bit better here. Mistake. No, knight e4 was ignorant. What did I do wrong? After queen d7, there's no more time for h3. b3, bishop f5. Maybe I should have taken time out to play h3, in fact, after bishop f5. h3 first, followed by queen d7, king h2, stopping bishop h3. That would be a good way to play. No, Skinner, are you serious? Why would you play that, man? Self-immolation. Queen g4. You have so many good moves here. Just queen e6 I thought is simplest, because you're on my e2 pawn. Now maybe I miscalculated that. Oh, I know, you can play even rook d8, because I can't take on a7 because my knight's hanging. There has to be a simple defense for black there. Meal Skinner. If you do hang a piece, I will give like one take back per stream. This probably would have been a good... This would have been a good spot for the take back. I should have offered you a take back. I am not pleased has not a great position for black, but I think you achieved a lot by exchanging bishops on g2. I shouldn't have allowed that. I should have taken the time after bishop f5 to play h3. But I don't think you should play bishop f5. You should play bishop e6, which supports the advanced d5. And then you have like... Okay, there you have to watch out for knight g5 though. It's not so easy. It's not so easy. Yesterday, I am not pleased. I played the ready against him in an off-stream game, guys. If you're interested in playing when I'm not streaming, you know, feel free to send me a challenge. Sometimes I'm just hanging out and I'm willing to play pretty much everybody. Stream defaults muted. Yeah, actually, I think the stream default is muted. If you click on the lichess window, just click unmute on the audio, mute or unmute. It can be a default. It can be on mute. Maybe they changed the settings there on Twitch too. It could be that it started to come up on mute automatically. I never listened to myself live, so I haven't been paying attention to how it is, but that's possible. The Angry Poker Lady, yeah, she's put a virus on your computer. I am not pleased playing the Norwegian variation. I played this against a guy the other day. It's a very good line for black if white isn't prepared for it. In many cases, white just like loses the bishop pair, or plays one of these desperate sacrifices on f7 that's really objectively okay for black. Teletubby. Makes me think of Teletubby. D6. I don't know what the deal is with this. We're in one of those, like, excuse me, nice arrow. Bishop d5 almost working. No, he just plays 97. Pretty unusual sequence. Knight a5 is my preferred move here. You do have to watch out for the for the Noah's Ark trap, which I fell for once on the stream here, though my opponent didn't play it, like d4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, pawn takes d4, queen takes d4, c5. In this particular position, that's queen d5, bishop e6, queen c6 check. Some kind of rep draw. But so d4 is overrated. Well, I guess we just play c3 and black has we could also castle. But then knight a5, d4. Then we're really in some kind of castles. And knight a5, d4. Knight takes b3, a takes b3. Pawn takes d4, knight takes d4. Or castles. This is an unusual position. Castles. Knight a5, d4. Because we have to open the position. We're ahead in development. E takes d4. Knight takes d4, c5. And in that kind of position, I should have bishop d5. Yeah, so it seems okay to go ahead and castle. The other option is c3, which is fine. And black's kind of weakened himself with b5 and a6, so I'm not thinking like, you know, we're going to go with any kind of siesta variation or some crazy stuff with f5. Because I haven't played c3 either, weakening myself. Siesta variation is a line in the Steinitz with f5, but I don't think black can really... well, he could try to transpose. He's like, listening to me? Seriously? Yeah, this doesn't look really correct for black. I guess he might be listening to the stream and just playing it because I said it, but it doesn't look good. My inclination is to take on f5 here, but we might have d4. I guess those are the critical questions. Pawn takes pawn or d4. There's all sorts of moves. I mean, I have this threat of bishop d5 as well. So like even if, even if it was his move and he took here, I could play bishop d5 and probably be okay. Well, maybe not, but I guess everything's playable. Probably even knight c3, like in a normal, Yanish or Schliemann. I don't know how is the German pronunciation. F5, just take it, and d4, bang, open the position. Feels like the right way to do it. Now I'm really burning the clock. We've got to open the position. I've been talking about this. D4 is interesting, but then after pawn takes pawn, what am I going to do? Like bishop d5 there? Interesting. D4 after pawn takes pawn, we could go knight g5 with total insanity. I feel like I might lose the initiative. But this is like a really sick siesta. I haven't played c3 to weaken my position, and he's weakened his queenside with b5, b5 and a6. You know, like in the siesta variation, this pawn is back here, and like white has played c3. So when you go pawn takes f5, like the bishop's coming into d3, but obviously there's no bishop coming into d3. This looks pretty crap for black, honestly. I don't think at this point we have that many options. I mean, knight c3 might be a move, but I think it's pretty much bishop d5, not really anything. Got to open the game. It looks good. This looks really... b5 has no relevance or bearing on the position at all, other than to weaken the knight on c6 and kind of like weaken the diagonal. Right? I can like exploit that. This is risky enough in the normal Steinitz or something where black hasn't played b5, but it just looks like a enhanced position for white. Okay, I appreciate that I am not pleased is trying to play some romantic style chess here. Yesterday I had a really really positional game with him, where I played a game like reminiscing the way I played when I was like 16 or 17 years old, when I was 2100. I used to play the ready with white quite frequently, kind of inferior setup. Okay, now that's a sensible developing move. I'm not sure I want to take on e5 unless there's some really, really big benefit to that. bg5. bg5, bishop e7, and then it's like, what's my idea? bg5, bishop e7. I'm running out of time, unfortunately, here. We have knight g5, but he can probably sack material or something. I don't know. Can he? Knight g5? It looks so primitive to do this. I mean, most moves are good for white. Yeah, knight g5, knight takes d4, knight f7. Queen moves somewhere, knight takes h8. And he sacked a rook. But he'll probably trap it. So I would imagine he'd have some compensation there. All right, let's develop a piece quickly. He still can't castle. And I guess he could close the center with the e4 move. It's kind of double-edged. I also have knight h4 now, which I didn't used to have as a possibility. Possibility. The problem is white is much better, but the continuation, you know, you're looking for like something really convincing, and it doesn't seem to be there. And there's all these different choices that are all sort of like pretty much about the same, slight advantage, clear advantage to white, but nothing really that screams out at you. Again, knight g5, knight takes d4, knight f7, queen e7, knight takes h8, knight takes b3, a takes b3. Maybe he can play like g6 and trap my knight on h8 and have a pawn for the exchange. That's kind of messy. And he has a strong center. I don't know. You know, I don't want to lose the initiative. Servus. I'm good. Dominorby. We have a Hungarian fan here who was just saying, hello. How are you? We're good. It's Friday, my favorite day. And I love playing chess, but it's also nice to get away from chess. So like on Friday night and Saturday and Saturday morning is like the 24 hours. From mid-Friday till mid-Saturday, like the 24 hours when I don't play chess at all. So that's like my refueling period. If you do something constantly, it gets too monotonous. So we get away from chess a little bit. Although last week I got away, or 2 weeks ago I got away. My friend, who's an IM, was there, and he was immediately like asking me to analyze positions. I was like, dude, come on, I do chess all day long, like 5 or 6 days a week, and the last thing I want to do is like on my day off to analyze a position. Constant change. Oh, you just said thanks for the game. Yeah, constant change. Keep playing that system. That seems like you've got a good feel for it, but obviously it's a very, very risky system. You know, that c5 f5 Dutch. It's called the Clarendon Court. There are some English players who played that. You know, I'm not a big official expert on who's played it and who hasn't, but I remember maybe Jonathan Levitt was the guy who played it. Man, that's too many pawn moves for black here. Too many pawn moves. Look how weak the white squares are. I mean, if you look at the position, look at this. Talk about drafty. I mean, man, that's a lot of weaknesses on the white squares. I was expecting bishop e7 pretty much. Not sure exactly what I'm going to do there, but it looks like here we take and then try to exploit the pin on the knight on c6. Bishop takes f6, queen takes f6. All right, enough talk. Time for action. Like, for better or for worse, this is pretty much my only idea. Knight takes e5 is interesting there. It's playable, but it kind of loses the initiative. Alright, rook d8. I mean, I am not pleased is trying to run me over. Wow. He went to the wrong square there. Knight g6 would have been really nasty. Knight g6, knight f4. I set myself up for that. Unless I missed something. After knight g6, knight f4, I could have been in trouble. I'm sure I had something, but it was a little awkward. My queen would be attacked by knight f4. It would have made me. Seriously regret playing h3, for example, which wasn't probably necessary. The h3 move. So after all this, we managed to win a pawn. My knight is really well stationed here on e3. I'm not sure this was the best move, rook c6. But it's okay. Probably good enough. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, his king can get out. Maybe I should have played rook a7. But I'm not pleased. He's trying to push me over on time, but with the 8-3 time control, that's what we're trying to avoid. That the game becomes just about time, because I'm trying to make these games about, you know, quality chess more so than other factors. Looks like he's got some counterplay for himself here. He was trying to play knight d4 there. We've got a clear pawn up on the king side. It should be winning, but with 15 seconds I can't afford to make like more than one mistake here, probably. Maybe one little mistake I can afford to make, but if I make more than a little mistake, I probably could jeopardize this position. But this isn't exactly the healthiest second extra pawn over here on the queen side. I am not pleased. Tanking you. What was I thinking now? What was I thinking now? I don't know what I was thinking. I was having some... I actually didn't execute my plan. When he played rook a2, my intention was to play knight e5 check and knight d3, but I forgot, and then I spaced and played h4. It's alright. Now we got the rook on the 7th, which is pretty good. Looks pretty good. But he's defending like a phenom. Just have to avoid losing on time. Yeah, this is important to hang on to one of those pawns on the queen side, I think. So check him away from the area. Man, dude. Dude is like serious about this. Why didn't I take that pawn? I just wasted a full tempo. It's horrible. Really, really bad play and time pressure here. I mean, I should have just taken on h6 before. It's totally... That was easily winning. Step into my parlor. Yeah, bad technique by me. I mean, I really should have just taken on h6 right away, but I started to panic. That's the other thing, not playing enough really fast blitz. I have a tendency to panic in situations where if I was playing more, I probably wouldn't. Yansky said, I often notice you fall behind on time and deliberately calculate earlier, but when your clock starts to run out, you seem to effortlessly work out time pressure. How do you manage that, and why is there such a large discrepancy in the time it takes to choose your moves, depending on the stage of the game? Well, I guess you could call it procrastination. I like to spend my time. I like to spend my time in the early stage of the game to reach a winning position, and then if I get a winning position, we can win based on technique, which is pretty much automatic. Like I could play when I'm, a position that I could play when I was drunk or something. I know it so well that I could play blindfolded, some technical position, basically, where we could just play robotically without thinking. So we're trying to use our time, to get a winning position in the first moment. This is something I've talked about a lot. I think that increment is huge. I mean, I grew up in playing chess tournaments in the late 80s. I mean, there was no increment, and digital clocks were very rare. So basically, sudden death was sudden death, and in those situations, time pressure was a really, really dangerous thing. But even then, there were people who were kind of like me. Like Reshevsky was famous for getting into like really, really bad Zeitnot and having to play like the rest of the game with like just a few minutes on the clock. But with increment, a very strong player should be able to win a winning position with 3 seconds on the clock, and maybe even 2. With 1 second, it's pretty random. But so the goal is to like keep control of the position, maintain control of the position, never let it get out of control, so I can keep it within my technical skills. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you see me like lose control of the situation in time pressure, but. The other thing is a psychological effect. Bappy played h3. Alright, so we faced e5. That's a theoretical move. And we faced, the other day, like last week, Suvik played rook b1. But h3, it's kind of a slow, but standard looking move. I guess rook b8. Getting my rook off the long diagonal. So the other thing is a psychological effect. You see a lot of people get nervous when the other guy is in time pressure. And I can't say I'm doing it on purpose. But, it's like a side benefit. If the other people are going to get nervous and blow the game because I'm in time pressure, I've seen that happen. It used to happen more frequently. As I said, in the old days before digital clocks and increments, but it still happens. You see people just going crazy because the other guy has a few seconds left. But once you play chess, blitz chess, I've played a lot of 3-minute chess and even 2-minute chess and faster. Once you've mastered that, I'm a little rusty in the 2-minute, 3-minute chess, but once you've mastered that, you should be able to play quite quickly. So Bappy with a very silly blunder there. I mean, queen d2, g4, rook b1. I was just going over a position like this. One of my students had a game. If we look for a second, this is possibly still theory. There's a random game here. Tringov, Bulgarian. It's an relatively old game from '86, but h3 is not real common. e5, bishop f2, queen d2, rook b1. h3 is not a really bad move either. And I guess the plan would be rook b8, g4, f5. Actually, come to think of it, I wonder if anyone's played g4 straight up there. Oddly enough, no. Yes, they have. Okay, there's 4 games. If you want to play g4, man, you can go ahead and play it right away. I mean, Norwood Davies, 1985, 1-0. g4. These guys were young back then. That's about the time when I was about to enter my first unrated chess tournament. f5. Okay, let's get back to the chess here. Bucanere, I hope I answered that question. Never, ever, ever, rush because your opponent's in time pressure. It's absolutely, it's a total noob thing to do. It's hard to ignore it, and it's also hard to ignore, opponents who move instantaneously. I had this Vietnamese kid who was my team game opponent on Sunday last week. He's very, very talented. He's a 19-year-old kid, FIDE master, but for some reason he's not a professional, and for some reason he moves, he plays tournament games using only 20 minutes for the whole game and stuff like that, and he makes a lot of mistakes, and I guess he just plays a lot of blitz or bullet and just can't change speeds. It is very disturbing for his opponents who are thinking for an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours for the whole game, to have a guy who's playing the whole game in 20 minutes. Can be kind of disturbing. But I just take my time, take your time. That's the best policy. So when I'm in time pressure, just do your normal thing. In the old days, when there was no increment, you could actually concretely try to flag people. I mean, you could concretely try to make them run out of time by just making real quick moves or whatever, or tricky moves, on purpose. But with increment, I wouldn't recommend ever doing that. With even just 3 seconds. In official tournaments, it's usually 30 seconds increment or something like that. Maybe 5 seconds in a rapid tournament, I don't know. But yeah, don't ever, even with just a 3-second increment, don't ever try to run the other guy over on time, because you're only going to hurt yourself. a5, a3. I had this game against an American guy. It's crazy. Kind of crazy dude, Eric Cook. He was a regular at the Marshall Chess Club in Manhattan in the 90s. And I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he's still around. He's not that old. He played this against me. And I think I played bishop takes d2 against Cookie. But it's also valid to play bishop back to e7 here. Makes a certain amount of sense. I think this is more aggressive, trying to keep pieces on the board. And maybe a3 is kind of a wasted move. Although a5 is also questionable. You can also play bishop b4 check in the normal Bogo, I guess. Bishop b4 check, bishop d2. I mean, this move probably exists, bishop back to e7. It's pretty strange to do that, but you could argue that the bishop on d2 is not really in a great place. It's done in the Catalan, a move later. So, yeah, I suppose it's a line. Why on earth has increment wrecked chess? Well, that's what John Fedorovich says. I mean, John had this BHB clock that was his favorite. This really cheap, the cheapest possible plastic clock. And, he said he won more games on time. John plays fast. He's not like the Vietnamese kid, this grandmaster from the United States, John Fedorovich. He's a friend of mine, and he's a fast player. He basically would play fast. I mean, if the average player would take 3 hours or 4 hours for a game, John would take like 2, you know. So he would play, for a GM and for a strong player, he played fast. And so he would frequently get his opponents in time pressure. And he was, you know, in the same camp as DST there, that he's always said he rused the day that this increment started, because that was fun. I mean, flagging people and winning on time and watching really fun, you know, time scrambles. I kind of agree. You know, it was part of the game. A lot of people say, well, it's not fair, you know, the game's just decided by time. But those are the days when we had longer time controls, like 40 moves, 2 hours, 20 moves in 1 hour. You know, the games could be like 7 or 8 hours long. I mean, but the fun part was at the end. Of course, in John's case, I mean, I think he played a lot of games with, you know, rapid time controls. Like, I guess here I might have to think about D5. Or nah, no, maybe just D6. In John's case, he played a lot of rapid game 60s. You could really use it as a weapon. I don't know. The increment's certainly good for my purposes of teaching here on lichess, but I'm also not a real big fan of it. Believe it or not, because you guys only see me playing these increment games here, I would prefer if the time controls were left the way they were. You know, I'd rather have like 2 hours, you know, to do 40 moves in 2 hours, no increment, than 40 moves, 90 minutes with a 30-second increment. Why? You know, why does it have to be? Like, we can't just use our 2 hours the way we want to use our 2 hours. Why does this increment, you know, need to be in place? There's still kind of a limit, but at the end, many times, maybe rook and bishop against rook, maybe, or something like that, people lose on time in a drawn position, you know. So that's why the increment is preferred, so people can demonstrate a draw in a drawn position. Okay, now G3. So this game is entering like the theoretical twilight zone at this point. I think there's several weird features. I mean, he's played bishop d2 with g3. It's kind of strange. But my a5 is definitely looking a bit odd in this situation. Anytime you face a Catalan, I hate the Catalan, it's very nasty. We have to think about how we're going to deal with a long diagonal. And here my options are pretty limited. I've already played d6, so d5 goes out the window. Knight c6. In that case, he could even play d5, I would think. Then knight e5. Knight takes e5, d takes e5. Looks a bit strange for black. Yeah, I would have rather have played bishop takes d2 check now. This does look a little unpleasant for black. Knight fd7 I've seen, even. But most often, instead of g3, I would face e4. And then I think we would have transposed to some known games. Against g3, I'm on my own. I don't know what I'm doing against g3 here. Let's just castle. We'll defer our decision as to what to do regarding the queen side, but he can't play everything. You know, he has the fianchetto, but he doesn't have e45 as well. Hard to decide on a setup for black, though. d5 concretely like wasted a tempo for me. Maybe it would have been better to just play d5 straight away. That transposes to some kind of known position, I'm sure. With d6, it's a little harder to make my position work. play some really rope-a-dope type of thing with knight bd7 looks weird. I like the knight on c6 a little bit better. Play for e5. Maybe rook e8. Rook e8. This is super hyper modern. Just hoping that later I'll push e5. Maintaining some flexibility, but white has to be better here. How are you doing? Ahmad, thank you. I'm doing good. Well, it also avoids notation problems and time pressure. That's a good side effect, Plucro. That's a true point. Okay, this is really rope-a-dope, my whole setup, but this isn't that coordinated. You know, what is he actually doing here? He's not really doing a whole lot. So I'm kind of glad I didn't put my knight on c6 because it just gets hit by d5 all the time. I would consider even h6. I think after e5, take bishop g5. I can play knight bd7, something of that ilk. Should I play knight bd7 first? Looks reasonable. Maybe he's gonna go Eric Cook on me and play like g4. Something bizarre. Maybe we should strike in the center first. Before he has time for any crazy stuff. We're basically playing an old Indian. Some form of old Indian. We're down. This is our customary time pressure, though. Unfortunately, I don't really like it. I don't like being in this kind of time pressure. Buchanera, though. Don't know this player too well. We've won 3 games. I don't remember the first 2 very much. Yo, we did play the other day, though. Okay, this one. They weren't easy, though. The average 1700 here on lichess can play a very good game. I think that most players just aren't consistent, you know. Some people can play like a master, but in just certain positions, not every kind of position. Now, bishop g5, h6, take, knight d5, queen d8. I don't really see any problems. He can also do pawn takes e5 there. Yeah, I mean, here I think it's time to start thinking about playing e4, but I need to be able to properly defend that pawn, and I'm not sure that I'm properly set up. This is a very subtle move, rook e3. Exchange sacrifices. He can take with the bishop on d4 there, but I can take e4 knight d2. He's got a very good blockade. I don't really like that. So I'll just try to play solidly. Buchanera's setup very sophisticated. He looks like it's like I'm playing David Grigo. Really strong, monster strong FIDE master from Rhode Island. He was easily IM strength, but never traveled to Europe to get the title. The guy was over 2,500 US. He was a killer with absolute killer in Fianchetto King's Indian type of positions. This is his favorite setup, like bishop on e3, h3. Rather than traditional e4 kind of King's Indian, he would play bishop e3 and h3, so there's no knight to g4, queen on c2. Grigo is probably still around, but he quit chess competitively. He was extremely strong. A lot of chess players who deactivated over the years kind of get forgotten, but now this move is bad. Buchanera is abandoning the center. Not abandoning it entirely, but that's an unnecessary Unnecessary retreat from the center. Seems wrong. There's nothing I can do to refute it outright, but our position is slightly better than I felt it was. I don't think he should give up a dark square bishop even if he can double my pawns there. That's the first concept. We have knight e6 sometimes bouncing around, so it's turning into a King's Indian, which at least I'm kind of familiar with the plans in the King's Indian. Still got a very strong bishop on g2, keeping me tied down there. Structurally, white is better, typically in this kind of structure, but this placement of the knight on d2 is kind of passive, not optimal. You know, he didn't have to play knight d2. I mean, he should play queen c2, and white stands well here. I think that the onus is on black to prove he can equalize. With knight d2, white becomes a little bit restricted. Queen's still not developed, the rooks are not developed. It's not usual to retreat a piece like this when there's tension in the center between the pawns, as is the case here. Alright, we've got to act fast. What was my plan again? Yes. Getting kind of frisky here with knight g5, but this is another weak point. Whoa. Okay, it looks like a blunder. I could definitely sack an exchange. You could definitely sack the exchange there. Positional exchange sacrifice looks quite viable. Now I remember, so Buchanary is French Cajun, he said. I was thinking it was Italian. Okay, bishop takes h3. You're gonna grab this, I would think. And white is messed up. But I had the initiative after knight g5. I think white started to be in some danger. Maybe g4. We look back at knight g5. Maybe he has to play this gross looking move, g4. Because I don't have h5 there, it's not that easy for me to continue. I was really gonna maybe sacrifice the exchange. Knight f3 back, huh? Well, that's fine, man. I'm up a pawn now. So we'll play routine. This is what I was talking about, technique with no time left. Now we don't have to do anything fancy, just convert this extra pawn and better structure. We have a number of advantages. Nothing fancy. So here I wouldn't go out of my way to take any major risks. I regret that move. But at least we can protect the base of the pawn chain pretty securely. I shouldn't have taken on d5. It was probably not the optimal solution to the situation. But we'll have to live with it. Queen there virtually trapped. Oh, that's a bad move. That was a bad move. You want to take with a rook probably. Keep the pressure on the file. That's the way to do it. Still, it wouldn't have been easy, but you've got that nasty pressure on c7, and now I can breathe a sigh of relief. You know, any kind of exchanges would be good for me. Any kind of ending where I'm just a clear pawn up. Should I have grabbed this pawn before? This pawn could turn out to be a weakness there on c7 even. And I'm still tempted to sack the exchange around here. If you're up material trade, that's the general rule. Got to get my king in the game. Playing without a king in this ending. Both sides have king now. Oh, okay. Blunder and time pressure. Now white is sunk. This is going to be... So Buchanan had a lot of chances in this game. Even at the end, you know, I mean, when he could have captured on c6, I think. Let's take a moment to catch our breath. Alright, taking a moment to catch our breath. If you guys have any messages for me, make sure to message me there on Twitch. If I miss something, just keep trying. Anyway, because I'm not going to open my messages here. I don't know what kind of four-letter word someone's leaving for me there. Guys, we do stream Monday to Friday, 10 to 12:30 here on the stream. Blitz and Classical Chess. Wednesday is a day when we play unusual openings. Every morning, 10 a.m. here, CET. That's GMT +1. Otherwise, we do a simul on Sundays, and that's usually every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. CET, Central European Time, in the evening. I do a simul for 20 to 25 players, depending on how much energy we have. It's usually pretty long, like 40 time control, taking 2.5 hours or so. So if you're interested, come by for the Sunday simul. We also have a YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. It's Friday. I noticed there's less challenges today. People are off for the holiday weekend. It's just every weekend is a holiday to me. Here in Hungary, there's a lot of holidays. I think more than the United States. Miotz, we have played 4 games, but it seems like the last, I don't know, 3 streams, Miotz was trying to challenge me and couldn't get a game in for whatever reason. Like he was like the last one and I couldn't play, or he was a little bit later, or then he got disconnected. So good luck, man. I'm glad you get to play finally. Fortuit Folier, thank you for the game. You had a good position. You had a really good position. Just 92, I think, gave away your advantage, and then you went off the rails with some move. What was it? No, I don't remember. Sicilian defense. Yeah, I thought the way you played the opening was good, though, Fortuit Folier. You definitely have a concrete advantage, and that's the way it should be played, that Bogo. I was playing risky, you know, with bishop b4 back to e7. I think that's a very, very risky thing. I lost to Erdos Victor, or in a game this summer where I tried to do that against him, although it was more theoretical position. It's a very risky plan for black against classical principles, I think, to play. I'm going to play Marazzi here. He's giving me the chance to play the Marazzi by not playing knight f6. I lost to Victor Erdos, but I think it was a bad idea for me to play against a stronger player, such a setup with black, where I'm concretely like avoiding exchanges, you know. I mean, basically when you're black, you have less space and you want to exchange pieces, so probably not a great strategy, but Erdos had surprised me. Like, I didn't expect him to play the white side of the Bogo. I expected the Nimzo or something like that, and I was kind of like caught off guard. So I just played what I had been looking at recently, but it wasn't really geared toward playing a stronger player. and I made some serious mistake. Castles, and we're into the standard Marazzi type position. Miots, I don't remember. That could have been some kind of Sicilian. Looks like I was white in all these games. And this one you must have bailed on the simul game. And this one you must have bailed on the simul game. Miots is getting disconnected or leaving the games a lot. Queen c7 is not a good move. Queen c7, not a good move along the c-file here. The queen is generally exposed. Though I don't have to play rook ac1. We could think about rook fc1. This is generally not a good square. I mean, oftentimes it comes out to a5, where you can clear the way for the other rook to go to f8. I have a lot of experience with black in these kind of positions. Yeah, it's good to have holidays. It just seems like there's constantly some national holiday here. In Hungary, okay, there's a lot of holidays in the US too. I mean, I forget that I haven't been home for a long time, but we have a lot of like weird holidays too. A6. Yeah, so I guess the plan was to play rook fc1. Let's execute. This is a kind of modern interpretation of the white side of the Marazzi. You know, traditionally, white would play like rook ad1, ac1, rook fd1, and then somewhere along the line, around maybe the late 80s, I guess, some smart guy figured out that it would be better to put the rooks on c1 and b1, where you can actually push the queen side with b4. And since white has a kind of advantage on the queen side, the center and queen side, this has actually been proven to be like a more effective formation for white's rooks in the main lines. Friday is the best day, and it should always be a holiday. I agree. So anybody else who wants to play, we're going to have time. If anybody else wants to get in a challenge, seem to be a little short today because it's Friday. Okay, here he comes now with the classic a6, e6. You know what? Miots is playing. He's playing the, like, I guess, Paulson, Sicilian, and or Taimanov, whatever you call it. And that's actually a pretty interesting setup for black. But if I was set up again with like rook on f and rook on a to d1 or something like that, which I typically have played in this kind of position, this would be good for black. But he's on the verge of walking into a tactic here. He's going to have to lose a tempo, I'm pretty sure. This is an interesting move, though. Sometimes in the King's Indian you can sack a piece with like knight b5 and just positional. Here this is not a situation for that. f3. I wonder if he'll prove me wrong about this rook placement. Can you prove this to be a mistake? The problem is I have to keep this pawn on e4 guarded. This knight cannot move. The knight c3. I mean, sometimes you could do like knight a4, knight b6. For example, the square b6 can be invaded by a knight in the Marazzi sometimes. But I'm wondering, his queen is misplaced. Now, are my rooks on the right squares? In the traditional main lines, this is good, but not in every position is it correct. So this is an interesting try by Miots to play e6. Will it work? Right, and this is again looking like the typical Paulson plan, but now he's walked into the classic trap. It looks like a really good version of El Clasico, but there may be a complication here. Let's see, knight d5, e takes d5, c takes d5, putting up the c file. Now he has queen a5, threatening to trade queens. I can't trade without... I could play d takes c, queen takes d2, bishop takes d2. My knight is hanging on d4. What am I talking about? Yeah, my knight is hanging on d4, and he has this Zwischenzug, like knight takes e4 at the end. You guys follow me? Knight to d5, e takes d5, c takes d5, queen a5. D takes c, queen takes d2, bishop takes d2, knight takes e4 at the end. My knight's hanging with check. Although I have a pawn on c6, I don't really have time to do anything with it. That's kind of annoying. There's also knight d5, ed, so cd, queen a5, knight takes c6, queen takes d2, knight e7 check, king f8, bishop takes d2, or knight takes g6, h takes g6, bishop takes d2. I don't seem to have anything at the end of the day there. It just doesn't seem to work. One last 30 seconds. Take, queen a5. E takes d, queen takes d2, bishop takes d2, knight takes e4. Now we just defend our guy with something like bishop e3 maybe? But we don't seem to have a clear threat. We don't seem to have a clear threat. With the pawn on c6, I can play pawn to c7. I just don't see it. We'll find out on the fly. I don't know. It just feels right to me. I feel like I'm missing something here. At the very least, play bishop e3 at the end of that line. His knight's hanging. We have a pawn on c6. Could play like pawn takes pawn, rook to the 7th. Maybe he plays knight c5. b4. I can't believe I don't have anything here. There is another way to... No, there is not another way to play this. There is not another way to play this. Well, I could take on c6. It doesn't make sense. I lose a piece there. No, this is forced. ed, cd, queen a5. He doesn't have to play queen a5, but it clearly looks like the best move. I am having hallucinations, though. I've been having hallucinations in this variations that there's a ghost piece. In this case, in a lot of variations, Kotov talks about this when in Think Like a Grandmaster. He's talking about trees of variations and stuff. And actually, there's a book on chess psychology by Nikolai Krogius. Basically, the fundamental principle is like when you analyze variations, sometimes you make mistakes because there's a piece that's been captured that like comes back on the board in your analysis variations. So I was looking at like e takes d5, c takes d5, queen a5, and then like d takes c, and then in a lot of variations in my mind, that pawn is sitting on the board. You know, I was having problems with that and these analysis variations, thinking that this d5 pawn still exists on d5. I mean, black's having a pawn still existing on d5 in some of the lines that I'm capturing on c6. That's what I was struggling with here. Knight takes c6. It just drops a piece. So this is just double check. We have a little bit of time. Making sure I didn't miss something. Obviously b4 is a move if you go by Kotov. You should always analyze all, you know, kind of like legal moves quickly, but here we are. So when the smoke clears, the material is equal, but white has a little bit of a better structure. It just doesn't seem like there's anything else I can do. I mean, c7. Yeah, we can look at that for an instant. That's a good idea. So this is as far as I got. Not as far as I got, but this is... Now, he didn't take here. So maybe Meowts isn't listening to the stream. Because this is the whole thing. I mean, this is... Everything hinges on this move. And then the best I could come up with was like bishop e3. When white may be like a little bit better. But material's even, and it seems like black's okay. So now he may not be listening to the stream because he did not play that move. We have knight takes, and it looks like we're just good. This is just pawn up. No compensation. So we're lucky because he had a much, much stronger resource there. Now d5 is an issue. It is an issue, and we have to be careful here. We should play it safe when in doubt, I guess. But this is an awfully active square for the bishop. Just challenging my bishop, huh? Interesting. That's a move I didn't really count on. Alright, I'm just taking way too much time here. Obviously white's better, but I'm not certain that I played this the best. And I'm certain that we both didn't play it the best. It can be played. Now he's got pawn down with worse structure, which is really objectively winning for white. That's a tough call there. You know, how he should recapture, actually. I'm just trying to consolidate. This is a little passive. Maybe it would be better to bring my king in the center. H6 is a bad move. There are too many important things that you need to take care of here. H6 is too slow. King's centralization is far more important. This doesn't have a point. This is just, you have 2 minutes. It's a very bad move. Right now, it's not that easy. His knight is in a very, very powerful place. Here we go with the increment again. I don't remember ever getting into this kind of time pressure with Miotz before. But he's probably quite a competent, fast player. I don't know, 1800 in bullet. Yeah, we've got a lot of guys around this strength. Constant change. Pretty much competent and quick players. I don't want to play G3. This is actually quite hard for me to make progress. Oh man, tragic blunder. If you play King F7, I don't know if I'm winning there. King F7, I'm dropping this pawn on A2. Apparently I have to play King F1 for some reason. Not really sure why. King F1. If I win the second pawn, I should be winning, but he has a series of checks. And there's this tactical trick, Rook A5. Even Knight E7. How does this work? Knight E7, Rook takes G5. This has to be a winning position. This has to be a winning position. Wow, 2 pawns up. Some kind of freak situation where he's got my king on the first rank and I don't know, man. I mean, maybe it's a draw, you know, surprisingly. Schufel is challenging me to 5-5. Tough game from Miotz there. Mr. Sparkles, I missed Queen takes A5 and B4. Oh no. I played Knight D5, he takes. I play C takes, and the old. I'm sure that Spinal Tap is an expert on the white side of the Marazzi bind. It would fit. It would fit. Let's play King's Indian. Wait, so I play Knight D5, he takes, Queen takes A5. Yeah, I was afraid of that. Like I'm opening up my A rook on the long diagonal or something. So that's just good. What's up, man? Queen takes A5 and B4. Of course I thought about it, but not long enough. Mr. Sparkles. Senor Sparkles. Senor Sparkles. Daminorbi is next, and Plucro Chesaturco. Senor Spinal Tap is not here today. Queen to a5 straight away. Well, yeah, of course. He shouldn't play queen c7. It's a very, very bad move. That's how he got in trouble in that game. Alright, it's 5-5. It's kind of fast. So, we're going to play something fun that I don't play that often. An ED Caro-Kann. An ED King's Indian. Now here there's a bunch of different ways for black to play, although structurally white is better in these lines. I think that it's good. And bishop d3 already is a serious mistake. Wasting a valuable tempo. Well, I don't have any way to like blow him away here, but this is a very serious loss of time. Looks like a Philidor now with the bishop on d3. He's played c4 though. Can't imagine a Philidor with c4. Maybe a Scotch with g6. No, I'd like to play knight to g4, but unfortunately he has this knight f3 back, and he can defend. So I guess we need to just develop fluidly here with black. Knight a6 to c5. Nothing wrong with knight c6 too, if you guys like to play. Yeah, I mean, this would probably be good. Challenges knight on d4 straight up. You know, I don't mind the doubled pawns here. That actually would transpose to a Scotch, a g6 Scotch with like a tempo extra because he's moved his bishop twice. Maybe this is objectively the strongest move, although I guess he could move his knight away, you know, although they're like where, you know, and then if he moves like knight c2, we go Nesmedinov on him with knight to g4, probably. Start getting a lot of play. Yeah, a3's slow. Trying to force the accelerated dragon in every position. I'm trying to force the Marazzi every game. Miotz, you did a good job, man. I mean, you probably were very close to a draw even at the end. Just that the queen c7 wasn't good. You missed knight takes e4, which I thought was pretty close to equalizing. But I think it was a competitive game. You shouldn't be ashamed of yourself. We've had two people drop pieces today, which is very unusual. I am going to give a take back to the next player who drops a piece in the first 15 moves, though. Now it's looking like, oof. There should be some kind of tactics around here. Not that obvious what they are, though. Take twice on e4 and play f5? No. I don't see a tactic. Probably missing it. Something obvious. Knight g4, knight f3 again. Feels like there's a tactic here for black, but I don't see it. d5. I can almost play d5. You can play knight takes d3, queen takes d3, d5. I don't know, man. Where is my tactic? I don't see it. Knight g4, knight f3 holds everything. Don't see it. Knight d7. Same thing, more or less. I guess we'll just develop our pieces. This seems lame, though. I mean, it feels like I had something here. I just did not see anything concrete. Yeah, bishop g5. I agree with that move in this situation. It at least keeps me pinned. It seems like the right idea. Bishop g5 was good. g5. Although g5 is interesting. Very weakening. Need to get my queen out of here. hate g5. Play the routine move, I guess. This was a very routine move, bishop d7. I had to find something there, but I didn't see it. And I'm sure that I have a good game. Knight takes d3, queen takes d3, d5. Right, exploiting the rook on e1. I was trying to make that kind of thing work, but I didn't see anything conclusive. Rook b1. Queen in this nasty pin is a problem. All right. It looks slightly mental to put the queen on b6 with the rook on b1, but it's kind of standard accelerated dragon stuff. I mean, I get out of this pin on, the more important thing is that I get out of the pin on the bishop on h4. I don't like to put my queen on c7 and the king's Indian ever. It's not a good square. You get hit by things like knight b5, like my last opponent. Sometimes like on f8, if I could get over there, that would be a square we could go to. But I'm trying to set up tactics on this diagonal. Obviously. And if he moves his knight, we've got b3. Residences. The residence is at b3. So doesn't have time for everything. What the hell was I looking at, Plukro? Does d5 not work? What's Mr. Ember? Uram. Well, Uram, yeah. Karathot said Uram. Yeah, I guess Uram. It's like Sir. Uram is like Sir. Same as Mr. Yeah, Ember is a person. It's not correct. Yeah, don't ask me for exact. Better not ask me for direct. What are we doing here? Hungarian translations. Knight h5, bishop g4. What do we think about bishop g4? Stupid. I'm running out of time. a5 is slow. Knight takes d3. Hate knight takes d3. Knight g4, bishop e6. Freaking out. Queen d3, bishop c2, queen takes c4. Oh, screw it. All right. I can't decide. I had no idea what I'm doing. Oh, this, well, famous for my materialism. Obviously, I didn't calculate this. Interesting. All right. Well, he'd like me to like take and just. That seems actually okay. Come to think of it, take. Why can't I take? Why can't I take? Bluff call. Bluff caller. Hero call. I might have missed something, obviously, but my pieces are all protected except for my queen. This is the main problem. This is doubly protected. You can't displace this guy and this guy so easily. Bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6. It's still protected. b4, you hang your knight on c3. Yeah, that's what I figured would happen. And now I think we need to come to our senses. Some kind of exchange of pieces. Bishop g4. We've stolen 2 pawns. We can give one back. We're both missing stuff. Schufel. I don't know if he's Shuffle or Schufel. Schufel. We're definitely missing stuff. We missed a lot of stuff. I'm certain of that. Hey, how about rook d8? Developing the last piece. Yes. Oh, queen exchange. I'm up my pawns. We're up pawns. That's good. Everything is more or less in order. Yeah, I don't know if that's great bishop or not. Now, this is looking like we're talking about the technical stage. This is not pretty anymore. When you're time pressure, opposite color bishop, it's generally a good idea to keep your king on the square opposite his bishop. Yeah, I don't really want to go into opposite color bishops necessarily. I don't mind keeping the pieces on the board here. Guys, we're going to be streaming for another 40 minutes or so. I'm going to produce a video today where I'm looking at a lot of... Was this a good move, actually? I'm looking at a lot of games we played in the past weeks in one particular opening to do like a short video on YouTube, kind of like a thematic game review of games played on the stream. One particular opening. We'll be finishing that up today and producing it on YouTube. A little Hungarian grammar. It's not enough. It's not enough to just be Hungarian. That's what they said in Hollywood. There's so many. Alright, rook takes e5. Yeah, he's not giving up hope here. But it looks pretty grim. Let's connect 4. Well, whatever happens, happens. We've got it under control. Schufel doesn't want to resign. Look, if it was no increment, you're definitely within your right mind not to resign. But with increment, Dominorby we haven't played, and he's 19 classical. Yeah, it's kind of the same. A lot of players around the same level that we played here. That can be quite tough. So let's start out with d4. What was I looking at? Yeah. Well, I don't know, guys. That game got a little weird. D4, d5. So Dominorby plays knight f6 here, and this is something that I run into a lot, but it's not really great for black. And a lot of people make a mistake and they don't play CD. But this is an inferior opening for black. This is going to be the Marshall defense, and it's something that people who don't know opening theory play with black a lot. It's also something that some reasonable players play, not knowing that like they're playing something kind of inferior. And even some strong players have played on occasion. International Master Danny Kopech played this against me in an exhibition game on the now defunct US Chess Live website, I remember. Marshall played it himself, and I'm sure, like, you know, a ton of like random masters along the last 100 years. But fundamentally, it's not not great for black. We shall see. Yes, Blue Crow. Yes, the main idea is after knight takes d5, we're not going to play e4 right away. Although that's okay too. You can play e4, knight f6, e5, and play something like a Queen's Gambit accepted. But Dominor be playing queen takes d5, which honestly, it's probably no worse than knight takes d5. You're going to play like a Scandinavian. This is extremely similar to the Scandinavian. And now he has an interesting try. If e4, he can play e5, which is transposing to Marshall. You know, so it's kind of tricky. You know, a lot of people play queen a5. I think I lost a game here to a guy I was sort of suspicious of in that, but I think it's stronger to play knight f3 first. Because e4, e5 isn't that bad for black, if you think about it. D takes e5, queen takes d1 check, king takes d1, knight g4, or d takes e5, knight takes d1, knight takes e4. But more commonly, black plays, you know, knight takes d5, and most people play e4, but that's kind of a mistake because of knight f6 and knight c3, e5. I think it's a trickier way of playing it. Knight takes d5, luring white into playing e4. When knight f6, knight c3, e5 is not that bad for black. That's the Marshall defense. So now he plays g6. So he's more or less transposing, but he's not putting his knight on b6, which a lot of people more commonly do. When like e4 comes, they'll play knight takes d5 and knight b6. It's as if he had played knight takes d5 instead of queen takes d5, but met e4 with knight f6, which is debatable. I mean, I don't know. You know, he's not going to get as much counterplay against the center, like in the Grunfeld, as you would. Black's position is playable, but not great. You know, that's how I would classify it. Now e4. And so with the knight on b6 instead of on f6, you'd probably encounter more commonly. Obviously, I can play e5 at some point. Hi Liger Bim Bom. My trainer also says that knight f3 is best. Yeah, I mean, this was quoted in the Encyclopedia of Chess Openings. I didn't invent it. I'm sure I would have figured it out on my own eventually, but there was a time back in the dark ages when I studied chess with books and candles, you know, and before electricity was invented. And basically, bishop g4, that's a kind of funky move. Trying for counterplay. Feels like black might be going too far with bishop g4. There's a weakness on b7. Although queen b3 is not necessarily necessary. Bishop c4. Bishop c4 is an aggressive move. Then I suppose he could play knight c6. It's almost like he's playing the Chigorin with g6 instead of e6. I don't know what I should do here. I mean, there's a lot of good moves. I could instantly play bishop e3, bishop e2. Queen b3 is complicated. I feel like I'm letting him get away with something if I play like bishop e3 though. I feel like he's gotten away with making this bishop g4 move, which is semi-useful. Whatever. I think we play simply. We still have a slight edge under any circumstances. Black doesn't have enough pressure on the center here. So I played this conservatively, but we should be better. And now d5 looks like reasonable move. Russian systems of the Grunfeld. This is aggressive for me to play d5 though. I guess the most solid move would be probably, well, actually, I mean, if I play queen d2, it seems like he might have e5 or bishop takes f3 and e5, you know, so maybe there's no time. Queen a4 is interesting. I think d5 was principled, and now we're slightly better. No, it's like a Russian Grunfeld, just like he's a tempo behind. Typical counterplay in the Grunfeld, queen b3 or Russian systems. It just looks like he's a tempo behind. Yeah, now he's really bottled up. Knight g4. I'm not afraid of knight g4. Should I play rook fd1 or rook ad1? Rook fd1 and keep the other square for this, or maybe this. A quiet move there would be h3 to stop knight to g4, but I think that's not something I should necessarily fear here. You know, he's really not developed enough. Doesn't have enough control of the center. You know, to justify this lunging out with the knight on g4. Can play any number of moves, bishop d4 or bishop f4 or even bishop g5 probably. Black has gone super passive here. I had a friend who used to say that the initial position was not too weak, but this is a pretty extreme test of the initial position for Black. e5, knight g4, you can also just develop another piece, because this c7 pawn is really, really weak. e5, knight g4, bishop f4. There he has like knight to d7. h3. Maybe this is too luxurious to play h3, but taking away his last sort of bastion of counterplay. It's often hard to play when you're better and you have a lot of choices. You know, that's a fact. He's not creating any weaknesses, but letting me like slowly improve. Yeah, there is knight b4. Now his knights are tangled up. There was a book by Josef Dorfman where I think he talks about this. Anybody know the Dorfman book about chess strategy? I don't actually own it. A3. Black is in a lot of trouble. No good place for the queen. And I'm threatening to sideline all of his pieces with b4. He might have... Well, this I was thinking about. I was thinking about it next move after I play b4, but there's a question about queen takes here. Queen knight takes e4. I don't have queen takes c7, unfortunately. I have queen e3 there, and then knight somewhere, and he might survive that, you know. So I think I'm better off. I'm better off not giving him any counterplay. You can reinforce the center. And black almost surviving here. This ultra Nimzovician extreme. Bishop takes c3. Fight for control of e4. He's weakened his king side now. Yeah, looking for a4. Looking for a4 now. I don't want to trade pieces. Or this is going to get kind of complicated. Wonder how many chess books I read. I have a decent library. Not here in Budapest, but at home. I probably have 500, maybe a little bit less, maybe 400 chess books. And this queen has been known to get trapped on a5. It happened to me a couple of years ago against Hungarian IM. Tatar Kish. It was a much different position, but I put my queen on a5, then followed up with b6 and trapped my own queen. That looks like what's happening here. Queen is running out of squares. I also have the queen on my queen on this long diagonal. I don't think he can save the queen. was like writing is on the wall. Now obviously I'm going to have to give him something for the queen, most likely like 2 pieces or something like that. Some kind of payoff. But it shouldn't be enough. It's good to have the dark squared bishop on the board. Actually, I'm threatening knight b3 straight up. That's maybe more efficient. Yeah, that's going to win the queen for 1 piece, maybe. Well, he stopped that. He did stop that. It's good we had both. Okay, so 2 passive for black this opening. Guys, we have time for 1 or 2 more games. Probably 2 games. Because Blue Crow's playing blitz. And with that in mind, we'll probably get in 2 games. Thank you for the game, Norby. Knight f6. I do play a lot of different stuff against the King's Indian. It's a blitz game though, and I like to keep it simple when I'm playing blitz, so probably not going to play like a classical variation, which is really tedious and I find to be oftentimes, you know, white has to defend against a kingside attack in a closed structure. Not my favorite type of position for 5-minute. Maybe if I was a little bit more in practice in playing fast blitz. But lately I'm a little shaky. I'm focusing on really, you know, strategic play and taking time. And that's been my focus for the last year, more or less. So the 5-4 time control. Now Blue Crow interestingly plays d5. Okay. Yeah, my knight's on c3 pretty early here. So we're going to be stuck playing like a secondary line against the Grunfeld. This is actually a well-timed move. Generally speaking, most players who played the fianchetto or g3 variation against King's Indian Grunfeld, they don't necessarily play knight c3 early. It's more common to play like knight f3, like in Catalan, or even just g3 without knight f3. I was looking at a lot of those Grunfeld lines with a friend of mine a few months ago. I mean, maybe the professional move order would be something like d4, knight f6, c4, g6, g3, and my friend from Serbia, Grandmaster Linčić, he's sort of a specialist with that. He likes to play sometimes against the Grunfeld in variations where the knight goes to e2. Here, well, I guess this is all pretty standard. Blue Crow doesn't have to exchange knights on c3. There's lots of other ways to play the position. But this is a very typical line, which I'm not expert in. Yeah, Norby is almost certainly Hungarian. He speaks Hungarian. He lives in Hungary. His name is Norby, which is short for Norbert, which is a very common name here. E3. Blue Crow has traded a set of pieces on c3. There's another variation where, like, how does it go now? Black actually plays c3. Blue Crow. Alright. I'm not real familiar with this position. I understand the basic ideas, but typically I would put my queen here in this kind of structure. Though these squares deserve a look. Bishop a3 is another idea. It's always getting hit by queen a5. And I'm not certain. I mean, maybe I have to play some weird move like bishop b2. You know, you look at the book and sometimes there'll be this really ugly move like you're supposed to play just to support the center at d4. I mean, I think this move you have to know what you're doing. I mean, to play bishop b2, it's an ugly move that I wouldn't normally want to play. This bishop is very, very disruptive. Almost certainly this is a good move, Plucro. He says he doesn't know it, but I mean, stopping me from playing rook b1 with the idea of blockading with bishop b4, I mean, I guarantee you this is like the main move in this position. Maybe he's just being modest or something. Bishop b2, queen e2. I gave up playing this kind of line for white because my results weren't very good. It's not very dynamic. Wasn't bishop d7 or queen b3 better than bishop g2? Bishop d2, you mean? Or queen b3 better than bishop g2 in this? No. I mean, I'm sure that those are moves. I'm sure that those are totally valid moves. Better is not a certainty. Yawn. This is one of those positions where you start yawning because it's bringing back bad memories of losing to Viktor Mikhailevsky, I think, in some banter games on World Chess Network. A lot of very good Israeli players played the Grunfeld. Smirin, Gelfand, and then some of the lesser players are also doing the same kind of stuff. Bishop a3. The lesser 2600s, you know, tend to follow the larger 2600s in terms of opening choices. Maybe Satovsky plays Grunfeld too. Bishop a3. Bishop a3 just constantly walking into queen a5, but maybe that's... The problem is he's going to break out eventually. The tempo with queen a5, I'm not happy about. I don't like my game. I don't like this line at all. It's just lifeless and boring and like, ugh. I don't like my structure. It just feels like I have a lot of weaknesses. I just don't know, man. It's not worth it. I'm not going to play this stuff anymore. I don't like it for white. I never did, and I like it less and less after that. After this game, I like it even less, this variation. Yes, you have a central majority and a bigger pawn island, but it's like, you also have a lot of weaknesses all over the place to defend constantly. I don't like this. Queen b3 in that position attacks the black b pawn. I mean, maybe we're talking about a different position. Maybe you're talking about the last game or something. I don't know. Queen a5, Plucro playing pretty much perfectly for this line. Standard. Like any fifth grader could play this position for black almost perfectly. It's just too easy, you know. White has no concept, you know, what to do here. Yuck. How could I avoid this stupid variation? Knight takes d5. Yeah, the moves that he's talking about, I'm not sure if the guy's even talking about this position, but bishop d2, sure, you could play bishop d2. It looks like a slow move, you know. What if black plays like knight to c6? I don't think that bishop d2 or queen b3 are going to be earth-shaking. Blue crow is too much time. The fully passive approach. Knight d2 was possible too. Maybe knight d2, the idea of knight b3 would have been superior. Knight e1 is more passive. And as far as putting the recapturing, well, anyway, I intend on playing f3 at some later date. I hate this position. Maybe we can play d5. Then I'm stuck with this awful pawn on c3. Now, I don't want to be optimistic, but that seems like kind of risky move by black. Letting me play d5. Yesterday, was it yesterday? Blue Crow took me out, crushed me in chess 960. Didn't crush me from beginning to end, but he crushed me at the end. Indeed. Now e4, e4, c4, e4, c4, e4, c4, e4, c4, e4, c4. Maybe we have to play both. Question of move order. But I like our newfound friend at d5. This can do something with this position. We have some kind of concrete something. c4. Pawn sacrifice or blunder? We don't know. But we can't mess around with Blue Crow. He's too fast. Oh yes. Oh yes. I have no forgiveness for you after last game. I don't feel sorry for you after beating me last time. I feel that one is irrevocably etched in my memory. Look at this. He's getting some counterplay too. Can't take him too lightly. Immediately I made a mistake. Let's make some more mistakes, shall we? Or not? Feel sorrier. I almost gave him another pawn unnecessarily there. And sometimes I'm not materialistic enough. Guys, we're going to play one more game after this one. Look how crafty he is. I'm just dropping pieces. What is going on? Now he's clearly better. I just dropped a piece. But he plays very fast. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. Two pawns down. No pawns down. whatever. Silly game on time. Okay, Chessa Turco. We'll play the last game for today. Congratulations, Blue Crow. Nice victory there, buddy. Not quite. I don't know why I did that again against you. I just dropped pieces. You're very, very good when you get in time pressure. Knight to c6 there. Down a piece and you swindled me. Good job, man. Just when I let my guard down. Guys, I play another stream on Sundays. I'm playing Blitz and classical chess. But Blue Crow's technique at the end, man, it's remarkable. Like yesterday, he was vicious. Once he gets a winning position, it's like perfect. He's merciless. We're gonna try something different here. E6. Chessa Turco. Last game for today, guys. This is a long game. Sorry about abusing that somewhat, but I still had some counterplay. Well, not really, until I like gave you like a pawn for nothing, and then you didn't really have counterplay till like maybe the second blunder or something. But yeah. Anyway, that's the kind of game I try to avoid, where we're just like randomly. That's why I don't play bullet chess. You know, we're just randomly like giving each other pieces and stuff. That's not really gonna help anybody. So anyway, I prefer the longer time controls. The 5-5 gets like that sometimes. But anyway, good game. 2 in a row. Knight f6. I think the other game you deserved a little bit better. This one was well played to a time, and then you dropped a piece there. Trying to play for time, basically. That's how you dropped a piece in the first place. You know, if you hadn't been playing for time, you wouldn't have dropped a piece. You still would have been okay, but it's cool. Chessa Turco, this may be book. Anyway, it was a good game for a while, but then Blue Crow started playing for time. I mean, he was making bad moves. First of all, he had a good position, then he played very badly, like allowing me to have protected passed pawn. And then it was like balanced, but he dropped a piece because he was moving too fast. And that's more or less what I'm trying to avoid. Just random results. Alright, we're going to give up the bishop here, and this is a known idea to play against the hanging pawns. To give up the bishop here, play against the hanging pawns for black in this kind of structure. I don't know this exact position, if this is right or not. I wanted to play b6, but I have to watch out for my rook. It seems okay. Yeah, for some reason lately, I don't know why, I'm kind of panicking when I get in time pressure a lot and dropping pieces. Even after playing a lot of blitz games yesterday, it's kind of funny that I would do that, despite playing quite a bit of quick blitz yesterday. So I don't know what's with me, but queen b3 is a pretty strange move, I would think, in this situation. Because this is a standard plan to play knight a5, blockade, try to blockade the hanging pawns. So instead, what should white do? Maybe play c4. It's not easy. It's a dynamic position with hanging pawns, and now he's traded. But I'd be a little bit worried with white here. If you don't have a concrete plan, you may have just wandered into a position where equalizing. Well, even here it looks like he has some chances. Bishop d2, that's a good move. So I guess we go back now. We go back with our knights. We cannot maintain the blockade. Nicely played by Chesaturco. Cannot maintain the blockade. b5. Bishop takes b5. You can look at it, but I don't see any point. It almost seems like white's better now. c4 is coming. I can't stop it. Is there any sense in anything else? My knight's going to get hit by c4. Then that knight's going to have to come back. Might as well just start retreating. Start retreating now. And we can deal with it as it comes. I don't really like bishop takes a5 as an option. So it looks like white is better. Guys, last game for today. We'll be back on Sunday with a simul. Pukro ruined my day without losses. I was trying to avoid losing today, but I've been losing a lot of games on the stream, mainly because I'm not playing fast enough. Also, I've been playing some experimental openings. I haven't been as conservative with my repertoire lately as I have been in the past. Okay, we're fighting for the center with our knights as much as physically possible here. 4 central squares. We're doing our best. But these 2 bishops are arguably stronger than the 2 knights in this kind of open position. The problem is now the pawns are fixed. So we can put maximum pressure on pawn number 1. Bishop a6. And we should try to put as much pressure on both pawns as is possible. Try to force one of them forward, create some weak squares in the opponent's position. But this is a very, very important pin. You know, did he make a mistake? I don't know. C1, rook a c1. Difficult to say. Maybe I have knight e4. I guess I should complete my development. Sometimes in these structures, white can use the a pawn, you know, to break up the pawn chain, but that's very hard to realize here. So I was thinking knight e4. Yeah, as I was saying, I was thinking knight e4. Apparently he was thinking knight e4 too, because there came this move. This knight e5 could be a problem. Dynamic equilibrium, I would say here. But it's tricky for both sides. One side miscalculates or makes a mistake, and the whole evaluation could change. neither king has really, been able to centralize for the endgame. Knight a5, knight to c4. Yeah, but how could I ever get that in? With his bishop constantly dominating my knight. Yeah, so knight e5. That's what we expected. Knight c6 doesn't really work. I was thinking here. Try to simplify. Try to do our best Michael Adams Nimzo Indian interpretation. I remember some games he's played fantastically. There was one game where he got like his knights to the g4 and f4, this kind of hanging pawn position. White should be okay, as should black. If I can simplify though, take here, he takes, play knight d7 and blockade the c5 square. Could be pretty solid for black. I'm a little concerned about my king not being in the center. As I said earlier, white should be concerned too. Maybe white could slowly play like f3. White can feel safer about centralizing the king because I don't have a bishop pair. White can pretty much count on the dark square as being safer for his or her king. Raise intensity. It looks like black has the potential to fight against the hanging pawns. Yeah. But this f4 move was just a blunder, I guess. I think Chesaturko just forgot that like f4 is not protected. Just simply blundered. That's one of the most important reasons why I played knight g6. One of the first things I checked was like, well, if he can play f4, I probably wouldn't bother because then I really, if he had g3 in this position, if he had already played g3, I mean, I wouldn't play knight g6 because I'd see f4 coming and then it'd be like, well, why would I bother to do that? I would try something else. So he blundered here. But, why did he blunder? Because, like, you get frustrated and your position starts to become, it's difficult to find moves, there are different reasons why we blunder. Against Blue Crow, I was panicking because of time. And in this case, Chesaturko felt a little bit like his position was uncomfortable. We're up 2 pawns here. It seems unnecessary to allow nasty tactics like knight to c6, when I probably had to be very careful not to lose an exchange or something. So 2 pawns up, don't be greedy. Don't be greedy. So guys, we'll be back on Sunday. And check out my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. We're going to upload a new video this afternoon reviewing one particular opening theme from some of my recent games here on lichess. And if you guys have any suggestions for the stream or new ideas, or you're just interested in training or lessons, you can contact me. My email is videochesstrainer@gmail.com. Chesaturko just kind of like panicked. Thank you, man. But good opening and interesting position. I think if we look at this analysis board, we go back to, the opening. This is probably standard. It's probably been played. I'm surprised there's not more games here. Actually, people have played Queen A5. Maybe his move order with Bishop E3 isn't really that common. I'm in good company. Udit, Konstantin Lerner, those guys are pretty good. But Bishop takes C3, that's probably, yeah, better to wait. I don't have to exchange on C3. So this gives white like a little plus. This looks a lot like a C3 Sicilian. Peter didn't like that move. The pewter didn't like that move. Queen c2. Okay. It may change its mind, though. This is interesting. Takes, knight takes, bishop d2. And what did I play? It's equal according to the computer. Yeah, it's probably about equal. Okay, guys. So thanks for the stream today. Thanks for joining. Thanks me for the stream. Thank you guys for joining. We'll be back on Sunday with a simul stream, 6:30 p.m. on Sunday with our moderator. There's our moderator, Saroncha. I didn't even say hello or anything today. So don't forget, if you do donate via PayPal to support the stream, it also supports my YouTube channel. And we do need some help from time to time, and it does benefit our ability to continue over the coming year and years, and hopefully some people will do that, and I much appreciate it. Otherwise, guys, we'll see you Sunday, and look for the new YouTube video coming out this afternoon. Later. Bye-bye.